What's up guys, Zackie-Senpai here and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about 1.5 update, but mainly this video will focus heavily on the raid system only. In 1.5, according to the Wanderer's Letter Volume 6, we'll be getting Artificial Island, which is really not my favorite. It's just a big pool of exploration reward and home-based system that allows you to grind for raid matrices, ticket, 4 pieces every month, and a chance of crafting for a standard SSR matrices. I will talk about this in a separate videos and just give you a few tips to make your exploration a lot more easier. The next thing was actually quite surprising, which they introduced Claudia in between Frigg's banner. I thought they were gonna introduce Artificial Island, and once after that week they're gonna introduce Claudia. But I'm okay with this as well, and I will talk about Claudia in a separate video. I've been playing a lot about her. I think she's decent, but not future-proof for every team, but we'll talk about that later. Back to our main topic, which is raid. The raid in Tower of Fantasy is basically not an entire dungeon run, but rather just a solid 8 player versus 1 big boss. So basically you enter the raid and then you straight away fight the boss. The reason why we're doing the raid, aside from having fun fighting bosses together, there's actually a reason, and we're actually grinding for a golden or purple orb. These orbs are needed to redeem for 2 new equipment on slot known as the Elemental Crest. This is just a temporary name, I'm pretty sure Global has its own name, and the Elemental Headpiece. Though I think if I remember correctly, we got the crest first and later on only we got the headpiece, so I'm pretty sure the headpiece comes during 2.0, but I really don't remember. The Elemental Crest is divided into Physical, Frost, Volt, and Fire element. It's highly recommended that you follow the element that you main, as these crests, just like every other equipment, will have their own basic stats and random stats, which means RNG is gonna mess us up again. Their basic stats include the elemental attack that you main. If you choose Physical, it will be Physical. If you choose Fire, it will be Fire, and it will increase depending on its rarity, right? The stars. It also has all resist and max HP. The random stats depending on the luck will be shown on the screen, but I highly recommend aiming for elemental attack by percent, and elemental damage by percent. If you do get a very good piece, I highly recommend you to wait for the stat suppressor. If you have like 4 stats that are actually nice, just wait for a stat suppressor so that you can focus on the percentage damage or the percentage elemental attack. The Elemental Crest can only be leveled up by this little screwdriver over here that you're seeing. You can only get this only from the raids or the lower tier of the crest, or maybe perhaps the gold tier as well. So these are the 3 pieces of things that can only level up the Elemental Crest, so resources is going to be very limited since you can only do raids 3 times per week. The Elemental Headpiece are actually pretty similar to the Crest, having its own basic stats depending on what element again, and if I recall, we get this equipment later on when 2.0 get close or 2.0 arrive. The random stats are shown as follows, but my recommendation would be critical damage, elemental attack by percent, and all attack. Now this is the only equipment that you can get critical damage so far, so yeah, I really just, it's really hard to land, and even so, it only increased up to 2 to 3%, but I'll take it, right? I'll take it. Now that we're clear about the equipment details, let's guide you a little bit about the 3 raids that we'll be getting first. In the CN version, the raid is unlocked at level 65, and cross my finger, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same, and this time, players are allowed to party up to 8 players. You can only claim 3 raid rewards each week, shown on the top right, and there's only 3 raid bosses, so you must kill each one once a week. As you can see on the screen, you can only claim the reward once for each bosses. Here's my proof. You can also change up the difficulty of the raid for more rewards and a chance to drop the crest, but just look at the CS requirement. It's going to be very difficult. Even for me in CN version, I got 1 shot easily. And I'm not sure we're getting the hard difficulty immediately, so we're probably doing the normal difficulty first. Before I forgot, you cannot use jetpack in raid, so therefore, not only they nerf Crow, but I guess Rip Crow twice. I guess he becomes irrelevant now. First one we have is Apophis, very similar to the open world boss Apo, except different in color. This is probably the most easiest one. This boy don't have any weakness to any element, so any element you bring will just do. So just use your main element. It's a very straightforward fight with Apo. It's just his moveset is very similar to the open world boss Apo, so nothing much to actually worry about. Next one we have is Frigg and Valkyrie. Frigg is weak to Volt, while Valkyrie is weak to Physical, so they're making us pull for Claudia, I guess. This one is by far the hardest even until today, because you're going to need to kill both bosses at the same time. At the start of the raid, there's going to be 2 portals in front of you all. One leads to Frigg, while the other leads to Valkyrie. The purple one is gonna be definitely leading you to Frigg. she's weak to both, right? So what CN players do is that they actually lower one boss to 1 HP bar first and have one team maintain its health and when to fight the others. Communication is actually very important. I highly recommend fighting Frigg first and maintaining her health instead of Valkyrie first, because Valkyrie flies around a lot and Frigg moveset is actually very predictable. Her AoE is not that like as bad, as strong as Valkyrie, so I would recommend you guys to fight Frigg, lower her to 1 HP bar, and then have one team maintain it. Maybe three players maintain Frigg, and then the rest go and fight Valkyrie. And once Valkyrie is dead, come back and fight Frigg and finish both of them off at the same time. As you can see, I'm actually fighting Frigg right now, but there's actually a portal to Valkyrie and vice versa. You can come back from Valkyrie to Frigg later on, so it's highly important that you kill them at the same time. Otherwise, if you do not, they will regenerate and you'll have to refight them and rebalance their health. And before I forget, in raid, once you die, you cannot be revived. So it's very important to bring healer, because once that member is dead, they don't respawn until the whole member, 8 players, are dead. The last one we have is double Nemesis boss fight. If you have gone through the story, it's very similar, except you're going to be facing 2, and one Nemesis is going to be weak to fire, while the other is going to be weak to frost. This one isn't really that hard. The only thing that makes it hard is because they're actually quite tanky, and when they come together, when they stay together to each other, they are going to start healing. You do not have to kill them at the same time, so it's a little bit least stressful. A lot of people probably have Frigg, and Global Fire Team is still pretty weak until Cobalt B comes out. Even so, Cobalt B is a very expensive unit. What I recommend is for Frost Team and for other element, focus on killing the Nemesis that is weak to Frost first, and then all of you can gang up on the one weak to Fire later. So keep in mind that once your member die in the raid run, they don't get revived unless the whole members die, so it's very important to bring healer. I hope this video helps. Nothing too much of details. I think this is going to be very fun. A lot of people complain on my raid showcase last time, saying that it's bored since it's not a dungeon run, but the harder difficulty is actually very hard even for whales, so I'm pretty okay with it. Team boss fight is fun, but in CN, whales really just make the hardest. Like if you have 8 whales, then even the hardest is not going to be very difficult. Anyways, my name is Zackie, and hey, it's just a gaming channel.